Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And in this one, I've got a shocking top 10 arena compositions for the Elemental Shaman. So if you're looking to sling some lava bursts and launch some lightning and climb that arena ladder towards some elite transmogs, sick gladiator mounts, and maybe potentially a long road to a rank 1 title, or maybe even ultimately a BlizzCon championship. This is going to be the 10 compositions that I've got my eyes on for you specifically, or for anybody interested in pairing up with an Elemental Shaman. These are compositions that I think are going to be strong. I'm going to be reviewing what is new coming to them and what they're going to provide in terms of power and potential and what you should be looking for when playing them as a general overview. So let's get started. Number 10. We've got the Death Knight. And do remember this is a top 10, so filling in this bottom 10 might not be that great. These are compositions that are kind of just filling the void. I picked the ones that I thought would synergize heavily. So Elemental Shaman is known for heavy burst damage, just KOing at the moment with Stormkeeper, Lightning Bolts, and Lava Bursts. It feels really chunky with how much damage output it has. It is a very good support hybrid role as well, especially if you're going to choose to run some Restoration Shaman legendaries and conduits, as this has been a strategy I've seen from quite a few players on the Shadowlands beta, things like the Earth Shield legendary effect to increase the healing of Earth Shield by a dramatic amount. This will enable healers like Discipline Priests heavily, or build a composition similar to what I've listed here, which is structured as a double healer almost effectively, with a big burst window, especially if you want to run with a Discipline Priest, which is currently still at the moment the best healer, but I have listed some other healers below them that I think would be good substitutes in their order, so Druid or Paladin. Frost Death Knight going to be using Abomination's Limb, death gripping targets out into the opens for the Elemental Shaman to just KO them, basically, with huge burst windows like that. And then in between, functioning as a very disruptive composition, Grounding Totem, Mind Freeze, Wind Shear, and Off Healing. It's going to be very durable and provide a lot of support. So this could be a very fun composition, although in terms of its overall competitiveness, I think it is going to start to fall short of some of these other options. So let's get to the second one. Number 9 of my top 10 is going to be the Feral Druid. Hasn't been a lot of talk about the Feral Druid, but the Feral Druid is doing really good at the moment. Just got a 5% damage buff across the board, and its ferocious bites are doing huge burst damage. It's not feeling like the older versions where it was all about its bleeds. It's a very kind of chunk and healing role, and again, that fits very well to empower a healer like a Discipline Priest. This composition is effectively 3 damage dealers and 3 healers at the moment, and that is kind of the meta in Shadowlands. For now, that could change, but even still, I think that it will still function similarly. It would still fit probably in roughly the same spot at the number 9 slot, even after some changes here. But I haven't listed a Holy Paladin because Holy Paladins are very weak at the moment. You may want to do it if it ends up receiving buffs. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do so, as I will be providing these updates to Shadowlands as soon as I see them out there. So if there's any eager Holy Paladins looking for those buffs, if I see them, you'll hear from them here ASAP, so definitely make sure you're subscribed. But the Feral Druid, again, providing off healing, amazing utility with Heart of the Wild, and now Cyclone available more readily. It's just going to be an amazing composition to just kind of jump in, deal a ton of burst damage, retreat away, heal back up, and it's going to be hit and run play styles, and I think it's going to work really well for you. This could be a fun composition to try, as it's one that you really don't see very often, to be honest, in arena history. I think Elemental Feral is probably one of the least played. So if you're interested in experimenting with something new, this is definitely a composition to look out for. Coming in at number 8, we've got the Retribution Paladin. You're going to start seeing a trend here. We got some hybrids, high burst damage, high healing output, and with Execution Sentence, quite literally executing people for upwards of their entire health bar if maxed out and unresponded to. You could see why this would be a great pairing with an Elemental Shaman. And not to mention Concentration Aura, reducing the interrupt duration on both a Discipline Priest and an Elemental Shaman. That's a lot of free casting going on. Push in with a Hammer of Justice, Lightning Lasso combo. You've got huge lockdown, massive burst damage, great hybrid support. A lot of the weaknesses of the Ret Paladin are kind of getting shored up after some of these changes. So in my mind, this is a composition that could be quite a powerhouse for the Elemental Shaman. And we're only at number 8. Things actually do get better from this point. Coming in at number 7, we're going to be seeing the Balanced Druid, and I am ranking it a bit higher here. Boomkin receiving some buffs, feeling a bit better. I'm still not sold on the playstyle, and again, this is going to be like personal Boomkin bias, and I don't want to rant too much, but the casted damage doesn't feel strong. Doesn't mean that the spec isn't good. It is still going to be a competitive spec, I think, in its current build, but I would like its damage distributed more into its casted spell, so when you're sitting there and you're pumping out Solar Wraths in your Eclipse and your Starfires, you should feel like that is impactful, and at the moment it doesn't, but does not mean that it's not strong. Bringing Heart of the Wild and the Cyclone, similar to the Feral Druid, it also has the advantage of Solar Beam. So you can use Solar Beam onto an enemy healer. It's a guaranteed silence effect, and then blast down a target with all of your Star Surges and massive Earth Shocks and Lava Bursts. This is a composition that has been good in the past, and when it's this kind of hybrid wizard dampen triple healer meta, especially with a Discipline Priest in its current state or potentially Mistweaver Holy Paladin, this is going to be a composition that is absolutely devastating. I would recommend a Kyrian Balanced Druid just to provide extra damage with the Kindred Spirits every minute with that Solar Beam. That's a great combination when it comes to PvP, and you can utilize it on the Shaman and buff both of your burst damage moments. So this could be quite a deadly composition overall for the Elemental Shaman. Coming in at number 6, the Rogue, one that you definitely can't ignore. I've listed Subtlety here as it's just kind of leaps and bounds beyond Outlaw and Assassination, but I think Outlaw is a good spec in this comp, and I don't actually think Outlaw is as memey as I first thought, having seen a few players starting to play it. The main reason this comp I think that it's threatening is that normally a healer wants to trinket blind against a rogue, but as Outlaw, your blind is a minute and 30-second cooldown with Blinding Powder talented, which means that they trinket it, they can't trinket the next one. Or if they trinket a stun, they get fully blinded. And with the heavy burst damage, Tricks of the Trade damage increasing honor talents, I think that if there was an Outlaw Rogue comp, other than Rogue Mage, it may be the Elemental Shaman Outlaw Rogue, and that's one that has popped up historically. So if you were curious to try out some Pirates, this is one as an Elemental Shaman that you could look to try. But if you're just looking for that Fodum flavor, then yeah, Subtlety is going to be go-to. It's just got amazing control, amazing sustained damage, good support in terms of its self-sustainability with Crimson Vial and Conduits allowing its Slice and Dice to heal. This is just a spec overall that is really well-rounded at the moment in terms of performance and fun and gameplay, and it's going to be definitely one that sets the Elemental Shaman up for success. We're only at number 6. Let's move in here. At number 5, halfway through the top 10, we've got the Arms Warrior. This is going to feel a lot more beefy than the Rogue version. I think it's going to also be a bit more durable, so it may be a safer pick. If you're newer to Arena, less experienced, as the Subtlety Rogue may require more coordination with your team, the Arms Warrior is just going to require more Zug. You're just going to run around, chop people up, and zap them down. That is the classic Thunder Cleave. I would at the moment anticipate it with a Disciplined Priest, but Resto Druid and Mistweaver have always historically been great with this composition. There's no reason to not think that this wouldn't even be better. With Spell Reflect coming baseline, Intervene Spell Reflect, Mass Spell Reflect, this is a very disruptive composition. This may be a composition that can completely dismantle Shadow Priests as well, with all of its massive interrupts and reflect effects with Sharpened Blade and heavy burst damage. If we're anticipating a Shadow Priest meta, as I think a lot of people are for Shadowlands, this might be a composition to counter the meta, and if you really wanted to do that, you'd bring a Mistweaver in with it. And this is a composition that's only coming in at number 5, but it is a solid one overall and could be a counter to the meta. Number 4, we're going to be seeing the Windwalker Monk. In my mind, Windwalker a bit better than the Arms Warrior and the Subtlety Rogue, a bit more control overall. It's got the hybrid benefits, which is very important at the moment. And the Fallen Order Venthyr Covenant just cannot be contested. That is just an insane Covenant ability at the moment. I can't imagine that it doesn't get reduced in power, but at the same time, it's not great in PvE, so it doesn't make sense for them to nerf it overall. And if they want to avoid making PvP specific changes, then it could just end up being in the same place where it is. And if you drop the Fallen Order with an Elemental Shaman, full Maelstrom Bar, and Stormkeeper, I don't think anyone's making it out of that alive, especially with Dark Archangel and a Disciplined Priest pumping out damage with it. So this is a composition that fits those burst sustain rolls of the Rogue and the Warrior, while also having the hybrid benefits of the Ret and the Feral with the Mortal Wounds effect of the Windwalker, which is why I've placed it here higher than the previous specializations. This is going to be a very fun composition. This is one that in Battle for Azeroth we saw a lot as well from Space Station Gaming in the AWC. It's just getting better, honestly, moving here into Shadowlands. Now with number 3, we've got the Mage. We're getting into the wonderful, wacky world of the Wizards. Currently, at the moment, Arcane can completely one-shot somebody, so I kind of had to put it as number 1. But if that ends up getting fixed, which I feel like it will, because Arcane Barrage probably shouldn't hit for 60,000 damage, it still could be fun as Arcane, but Fire and Frost will likely be better. Fire with combustion damage, although no greater Pyroblast, so you may ultimately want to play Frost Mage. It's going to provide you the most amount of control. I've just listed these based on their potential burst damage currently on the beta. But the way I think it will play out is that Frost would end up being the wizard you want to play with. Just control the battlefield with slows, hammer down targets, kite, have your Discipline Priest or Druid in the back line doing whatever they want. Just that classic, wonderful wizard setup. This is a composition that I could see replacing the Destro mage composition that we saw a lot in Battle for Azeroth, or kind of filling its same archetype, similar archetype. It's just heavy burst damage, range pressure, and great aggressive crowd control. So overall, a solid composition. Coming in at number 3. Coming in at number 2, we've got the Warlock, and this one, it was going to be fun as Affliction as an Elemental Shaman. In my mind, if you're an Elemental Shaman and you haven't started to buddy up with some Affliction Warlocks moving in here to Shadowlands, you definitely need to, and I know they've been neglected, so you may want to be a little bit more than nice to them, okay? You might want to send some gold and just, I'm sorry that I didn't message you for 2 years, it's just your specs sucked, and it's nothing personal or something, you got to repair those friendships, because man, having Unstable Affliction to protect your Flame Shocks is such a huge benefit. And Affliction Warlocks also have a legendary that makes their corruption slow targets by 50%. You have massive snare, rot, control to support with the Elemental Shaman's burst pressure. And main weaknesses is the Warlock not being able to escape, but they've got Demonic Circle baseline. They've got more snares now. They've got insane damage output. This is a composition, again, much like the Mage, although it's going to focus more on rot and wither than blast and burst. This is going to be a really fun composition to play in my mind, if not the most fun Elemental Shaman composition for myself personally, but it's not even number 1. Can we guess in the comments down below what is going to be number 1? Well, it's pretty easy at this point. Which spec have we not talked about that the expansion is named after? It wouldn't be a top 10 here without a Shadow Priest. Now, maybe with some readjustments and tuning, it wouldn't be the case, which is why I spoke so highly of the Affliction Warlock version of this composition. I think that one will be quite fun. But in its current iteration, this brings in Siphene potential healing reductions. It's got all of the hybrid benefits without the melee downside. So the Shadow Priest is from ranged, can keep its distance. It has multiple immunity cooldowns. It trades really effectively. You could stack priests on it with a Discipline Priest, but in my mind, or even Shamans, but you sometimes want to avoid that. Mind Games and the Vampiric Touch to dispel protection for your Flame Shocks and Elemental is a great bonus. Not as good as the Unstable Affliction, but because of Shadow's overall utility and power currently, I couldn't fairly put Affliction above Shadow in its current standing, and this is just going to be an amazing comp. If not right now, when I'm going to update my top 10 overall arena comps, like this is just this is an amazing comp just in general in the game. Like if you're looking for a powerful elemental comp or just a powerful comp in general, this is one that you will likely want to pair up with. This is one that has historically been good as well, but with its current tuning toolkit and kind of looks like a bit of bias towards the Shadow Priest in terms of how much attention it's gotten overall, makes me feel like it's not going anywhere. It's a great Rot and Wither, blast and burst, heal and run, everything under the sun in this composition. It's going to be new player friendly. It's going to be advanced player friendly, so you can consistently look towards getting better at your setups. It's just all well-rounded and super powerful. I have to recommend this as the number 1 Shadowlands 3v3 arena composition for the Elemental Shaman. If you liked the video, please leave the video with a like. In the comments down below, let me know what specialization you would like to see next for my top 10 arena PvP list here. If you got any ideas for top 10 lists as well, I'll be glad to hear them and bring across my opinions for you in these videos. And if you haven't already, hop over to my stream, twitch.tv/Supatease. I'm streaming every morning, trying to get an evening stream as well going with that every day. So if you want to ask any questions, I'll be able to answer them live there. I also do some entertaining activities with music. Yes, we'll leave it as interesting. That is a good descriptive word for what that is that we do on the stream over there on twitch.tv/Supatease. Other than that, check out some of my other videos here. I've got class recommendations. I've got class reviews. I've got top 10s. I've got tier lists. I've got everything you need to know. The one-stop shop for Shadowlands here on YouTube. patreon.com/Supatease. Please subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.